Deep in the deserts of Uzbekistan lies the ancient Silk Road city of Khiva. For centuries, this was a vital stopping point for crossing merchants. When we think of a monumental Islamic city from this era, we expect a very specific visual language. The architecture is usually defined by grand, sweeping structures, towering facades, and massive amounts of intricate, glittering mosaic tilework. At the very center of this sprawling, ornate city sits its spiritual anchor, the Juma, or Friday Mosque. This is the site of the largest weekly congregation, making it the most important public gathering space in Khiva. Yet, despite holding the highest status in the city, the building completely rejects the grand architectural traditions surrounding it. Looking at this aerial layout of the inner city, the Juma Mosque appears as a massive, flat-roofed footprint with stark, windowless, mud brick walls. Even its accompanying minaret ignores the local extravagance. It maintains a strictly minimalist, unadorned brick aesthetic, dotted only with narrow bands of turquoise. From the outside, the city's most crucial religious site looks entirely utilitarian. There are no soaring domes or welcoming courtyards. This block-like exterior is a functional, deliberate shell, a 1,000-year-old engineering strategy designed to regulate the specific spatial and environmental conditions found within. To understand it, you must cross the threshold. You move out of the blinding heat of the desert and step directly into the shadows. Inside is a massive 55 by 46-meter hypo-style hall without arches. Instead, the flat wooden roof is supported entirely by 212 intricately carved pillars. This symmetrical grid creates an invisible geometry, subtly guiding the worshipper's line of sight toward the direction of prayer. This dense indoor forest physically traps the room's acoustics and limits how far you can see. The architecture engineers an introverted quietness that completely isolates you from the busy city outside. But this raises an immediate mechanical problem. How does a massive, windowless, flat-roofed box manage to circulate fresh air and stay cool under the desert sun? This architectural cross-section reveals the answer. Instead of a solid ceiling, engineers built two massive light wells directly into the roof. Following the airflow arrows, we see heat naturally rising and exhausting out. This updraft creates a vacuum, continuously pulling cool air through the pillars. Beyond airflow, these massive cutouts act as dramatic natural spotlights, piercing the dark room with concentrated rays that illuminate the carved wood below. Ultimately, the Juma Mosque functions as a passive climate machine. By relying on shadows, drafts, and precisely cut openings, the builders solved the problems of heat and light without ever needing a traditional down. The true marvel is the materials. Looking at the pillar bases reveals a crucial survival mechanism: solid stone pedestals. These blocks elevate the centuries-old wood, insulating the timber from the corrosive ground moisture, known as salt damp, that rises from the desert floor. But if you look up from the protective bases to the wooden carvings themselves, you'll notice an anomaly. The pillars do not match. A close comparison shows entirely different carving styles side by side. This detail highlights a pillar engraved with ancient Kufic script, an early, highly angular form of Arabic calligraphy. This specific wood dates back to the 10th century, yet it stands shoulder to shoulder with columns carved hundreds of years later. The roof is actually supported by an archive of spulia, the architectural practice of reusing older building materials in new construction. Generations of craftsmen piece together salvaged columns from older structures, creating an 800-year timeline of artistry in a single room. Pure stone monuments can sit largely untended for centuries, but an organic, wooden ecosystem in a harsh climate cannot. According to this UNESCO assessment, the structural integrity of the mosque faces 3 constant existential threats: termite infestations, rapid fluctuations in humidity, and the relentless creep of that corrosive salt damp. Modern preservation requires aggressive, invisible interventions. Conservators rely on strict, continuous environmental monitoring and climate control to prevent the timber from decaying. The organic nature of the construction makes preservation a project of constant vigilance. To keep the wood from failing, the structure requires the same daily, calculated care usually reserved for delicate museum artifacts. The architects of Khiva's Juma Mosque discarded every expected rule of their era. They traded vertical scale for horizontal depth and exterior decoration for interior shadow. The resulting atmosphere draws its power from the manipulation of pure wood, focused natural light, and quiet geometric order. It proves that architectural awe doesn't always require overwhelming size. Sometimes a quiet forest frozen in time is the most profound space a city can build.